Census experts, civil rights leaders, and people in the Democratic Party were thrown into a panic when it was announced that this year's trial run of the 2020 census would include a citizenship question. But why is this a big deal? Before jumping into this, let's understand what a census actually is. It's a constitutionally mandated population survey that every 10 years gathers demographics on every person in America. Note I said person and not citizen. Since the inception of the census, a citizenship question has appeared multiple times throughout history since 1820, when Thomas Jefferson requested it be put in the survey. The rationale behind it was to know how many people of the total U.S. population were natural-born U.S. citizens and how many people were immigrants. So by itself, is there any controversy with the Trump administration simply repeating historical precedent and adding the question in? No. The controversy comes with where the test is taking place, in Central Falls County, Rhode Island. The county has a majority Latino population with many recent immigrants, some of whom are illegal. From a census perspective, this is a very bad place to test one. Not only will immigrants, illegal or legal, be afraid of a citizenship question and might not respond, residents frequently change in the county, making the data useless in the future. I understand why census experts would label this place as inaccurate. Many illegal immigrants won't respond to the survey, and while there are many demographics represented in the county, I should think, given a census's importance, it should be tested in multiple locations. In terms of political controversy, irreverent of responsible data collection, according to opponents of the test, Donald Trump's administration could use the results to find illegal immigrants. The Trump administration would use the census to sow fear among immigrants and deliberately tip the electoral and economic scales toward whiter, more Republican districts. However, the actual citizenship question only asks about citizenship and not immigration status. This means that for non-citizens, this would include everyone from illegal aliens to people with permanent residence via a green card. In fact, even if they wanted to, they legally couldn't. Federal law prevents census data from being used for anything other than statistical analysis. That is the law, and there is no evidence any agency intends to violate it. Despite the accusations of fear-mongering and trying to use the census as anti-illegal immigrant, unless the Trump administration plans to break federal law on the off chance that the inclusion of this question will help them identify who to deport, it's most likely they're just sticking with historical precedent and trying to be as accurate as possible on official data. Also, the test version of the census didn't even include the question in question. To me, the real question is, why would people opt to collect less data if they know it could be helped with a single question, and when they know that federal law safeguards its use to pure statistical analysis? This is the real controversy we should be talking about. In the quote we just looked at, the Trump administration was accused of deliberately trying to tip the electoral and economic scales towards whiter, more Republican districts. This would be because many Latinos who are not legal would not respond to the census, thus skewing the data. Ken Pruitt, the director of the U.S. Census Bureau from 1998 to 2001, stated, "There will likely be a lower turnout. It will fall disproportionately on hard-to-count communities, who will then suffer from fewer resources than their numbers warrant." While I agree, the issue here is what resources the taxpayer-funded federal government should be giving out to illegal immigrants. And if illegal immigrants don't respond, it's one thing for people on the left to lament about these handouts. However, it also jeopardizes things like number of police needed for a community, which isn't based on immigration status, it's based on the total number of people, period. Also, I'm not sure where white comes into play here, because if these results aren't correct, minority voters would suffer the most. The citizenship question protects minority voters by aiding Texas, among other states, to apportion legislative seats while complying with the Voting Rights Act. This law rightly forbids the denial or abridgment of the right of any citizen of the United States to vote on the account of race or color. Courts have held that this law prevents states from drawing legislative districts that dilute minority voting strength. Without the accurate citizenship numbers, it's impossible to truly know if the voices of minority voters are being unfairly diluted. So instead of gerrymandering to favor white Republicans over Latinos, the Trump administration, in using this citizenship question, is actually trying to preserve the representation and integrity of minority voices in voting. The other goal this question seeks to accomplish is to secure elections against voter fraud. If you know you have X amount of citizens in one district, but routinely have higher turnouts, you can identify the fraud and rectify it. This calls into question why the Obama administration was the first in many years to remove the question from the 2010 census. The claim was then that they wanted higher reporting from the illegal immigrant community. However, no correlation was shown between the absence of the question and completed surveys. It's also unlikely that illegal immigrants committing voting fraud would vote Republican given the party's stance on illegal immigration, especially Trump's. So, was it a move to gain votes? I don't know. I don't want to go down that conspiracy rabbit hole. Maybe another video. However, what I do know is there is nothing out of the ordinary when looking at recent history. No matter what party is at the helm of conducting the census, the goal should always be 1. To collect accurate data, and 2. To ensure that elections aren't tampered with by fraud and other inaccurate data. And that is something we can all come to a consensus about. I'll see myself out.